Hello.
Hi, Grace.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How
Oh,
are you?
Good. We're excited.
Um,
Excited?
I'm excited.
Excited.
We have four wonderful authors on tonight, and we can't wait to talk to them. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I think we are waiting for Lainey. Is Lainey on here?
I'm here.
She's here.
Hi. Hi,
I'm
Lainey. How are
always
you?
here. I'm always here.
Ooh.
Mm.
Well, everyone, welcome to another episode of Writers to Watch. It's May. How is this happening?
I know.
No.
Crazy.
I don't know. But it's it's happening. And here we are with some wonderful authors here tonight. Four wonderful, wonderful authors. So I'm Virginia Stanley, who's with me.
Anyways,
And Grace Caternolo.
We're the Library Love Fest team at HarperCollins, and we are excited to talk to you tonight and to hear from our authors. I think before we do that, are we going to have a little house keeping to tell folks about future Writers to Watch episodes?
yeah.
Okay.
So we have a great episode coming up in June. I think these covers all have some, I don't know, they're not alike. They just have some kind of element where I'm like, ooh, satisfying. They're really beautiful. And this, yeah, so we're so excited. We have debut Joan O'Leary. We have Kosoko Jackson's adult horror. It's like new, kind of new for them. And then we have another horror, Sam Rebeline's Galloway's Gospel. We have Jade Chang for its literary and super like a thrilling read. This is going to be a cool one. Yeah, I'm really excited. So June 3rd, if you sign up on Crowdcast and you're part of our group, we send out the e-galleys already ready, open for access to read. We send them out early. So that's a nice perk of Crowdcast. You can go in there and get the e-galleys super early. And then obviously you can watch on Facebook too. We're very glad you're here. But if you want to get the e-galleys early and have no wait time to approve to read librarians, sign up for Crowdcast. And so that will come soon. For this episode, we're taking July off because it is the summer and it's a little booked and busy, quite literally. And we will be back in August. And this is hot off the press. We just got this today and we wanted to make sure you knew about it. So, drum roll, Virginia, do you want to tell them about this one?
Orange.
Orange, you glad you came to Ready to Watch?
Yes, we have Mitch Albom, Catherine Newman, Akwaeke Emeze, and Jillian McMillan. Yikes. So quite the lineup for the next couple of months. And we are really, really jazzed for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as Lainey said, it's hot off the press. We just got everybody confirmed today. So just as Lainey said, Crowdcast is your best friend because they'll tell you when you need to log on. Love that. So
Yeah.
here we are. And speaking of great lineups, let's go back to our slide for tonight's episode. Hello. Oh my God. Look at this. We're so jazzed. We've got Jonathan Lethem, Waite Clayton, Jeannine Cook, and Lou Berney all here tonight to talk to you about their forthcoming publications. And so if I say we're so excited one more time, you're gonna be like, do you have another adjective? But the problem is we are very juiced to have these authors here.
A good one.
Juiced. All right. So I think, does that take care of our housekeeping? Can we get on with the authors?
We can.
All right. All right. Well, Lainey, take it away.
Yes. Okay. I want to welcome on screen Waite Clayton. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Can you see
Thank
me?
you. Yeah, yeah, you're good. Can hear you, see you, everything. Thank you so much for being here. It's always lovely to have you on, and can't wait to hear more about Typewriter Beach. How are you?
I am great, and I am so excited to be talking about it, to use an adjective that's been used already today.
Great. I love it.
This is the first time I'm talking to anybody about it, so if I'm a little nervous about it, I hope
No, it's gonna
everybody
be
will
great. I
forgive
feel
me.
like we get that a lot sometimes, librarians are reading, so
Right.
far ahead, but honestly, whatever comes out just feels like natural, and that's what's got to come out. So it's good practice too for when you have to talk about it later. So I think it's such a treat to hear about it first. So I'm gonna do a quick intro and then I'm gonna hand it over to you. So Meg Waite Clayton is the New York Times bestselling author of 8 previous novels, including the Good Morning America Buzz Pick and New York Times Book Review Editor's Choice, The Postmistress of Paris, The Last Train to London, and The Wednesday Sisters. Her books have been published in 24 languages and have been finalists for the Bellwether Prize, now the PEN Bellwether, and the National Jewish Book Award, the Langham Prize, and she writes for major newspapers and magazines, mentors in the Op-Ed Project, and is a member of the National Book Critics Circle and the California Bar. She lives in California and Connecticut, and this book, Typewriter Beach, has been named one of Publishers Weekly's 12 literary fiction reads of the summer. So, and it's got a great starred review in Publishers Weekly. It says Clayton delivers an irresistible story of 50s Hollywood featuring a restless ingenue who befriends a blacklisted screenwriter. Readers will be riveted. So, please tell us more about Typewriter Beach, and congratulations on the star review.
Thank you, Lainey. I think I should probably just leave it at that. I'll just dig myself into a hole here. But let's start with the silly stuff, the first slide. This is not actually about the book, but a little bit about librarians. This is me circa 1970 at the Sierra Madre Library. I'm 11, already in my second year of braces, and just about to go on that most horrible of trips for a girl, not yet in the 6th grade, to buy my first brassiere. We'd moved to LA for 6 months to a neighborhood without children, leaving me to the mercy of my 4 brothers and the company of books. So what I did most morning was ride my bike to the library where they were having a summer reading contest. And all I had to do to win was read the most books. So I chose really short books and took them home by the dozens. But then the librarians began putting books like A Wrinkle in Time and To Kill a Mockingbird in my hands. And in reading those books, I began to imagine being a writer. So please believe me when I say thank you to all of you for me and for kids like me. You were literally my breakaway from my big brother's Hardy Boys. Next slide. So, set in 1957 and 2018 Carmel by the Sea, Hollywood, Typewriter Beach is the story of an unlikely friendship between an Oscar-nominated screenwriter and a young actress hoping to be Hitchcock's new Grace Kelly. It's a love story, or 2, or maybe even 3, that also takes on issues that are shockingly relevant today. 1957 was a decade into the Hollywood blacklist years. Fascists in the US government used intimidation and prosecution to silence voices. Small right-wing mobs loudly boycotted films that questioned an unrelentingly white and Christian America. And Hollywood fell in line to protect itself, like so many people do, making directors, actors, writers, and crew sign loyalty oaths and rat out friends. In 2018, that was Me Too, the first real public airing of what women in Hollywood and everywhere have to put up with, and put up with, and put up with. But Typewriter Beach is also an uplifting novel, and I hope the ending leaves you laughing and crying at the same time. My idea for it was to make a novel from my kind of decades-long fascination with the Hollywood blacklist, but where it actually started, kind of words on the page, was with my mom and dad, although let's just say Dad wasn't much of a reader of anything but newspapers, much less a writer of screenplays. And Mom, although beautiful, didn't, like is in my novel, dream of becoming the next Grace Kelly. But Mom was the one to put me onto Rear Window. And this dress, by the way, if you've read the book, is the dress that they talk about in the book. Next slide, Lainey. So one of my mom's and my favorite things to do together, and we didn't always meet in too many places psychologically. We were very different, but was we'd love to watch old Hitchcock films together. So the thing is, I started writing this 8 months after Dad passed away and 3 weeks before I lost my mom. My screenwriter showed up on the page already named Leo, which is my dad's middle name. And he had in hand a glass of my dad's scotch, and he turned out to have Dad's huge heart. Gemma is my name backwards. and her mom's legs are my mom's, as is the typewriter known in this book as Old Mr. Miracle. So there are shreds of my heart all over this one, and gobs and gobs of Mom and Dad's love. Like The Last Train to London, it took a while to write, so I'm delighted and pretty dang relieved to be here again. Next slide, Lainey. So the first line of the novel is, her hair, that was the first thing they changed, even before they changed her name, before her screen test, and months before Hedda Hopper wrote that bit in her gossip column about her being 16 and innocent and yet somehow elegant. So for the record, that line was written before I found this photo, hair test number 7, product 805, Grace Kelly, but it does show exactly what I was thinking. Next slide, Lainey. But Typewriter Beach, it's also an homage to my new hometown, Carmel by the Sea. Carmel has its roots as a colony of artists and writers who pitched tents here to live in while they built the little cottages we're now famous for. And Hawk Tower, this which you're looking at here, was built by the poet Robinson Jeffers with his own hands, with stones dragged up from, next slide, Lainey, the cove I call Typewriter Beach. I don't think it actually has a formal name, but there is a stump there where people leave little offerings, often poems and often homages to the poet Robinson Jeffers. Next slide, Lainey. So everything about Jeffers and his poetry in this novel is based on research, including a couple of tours of Hawk Tower, which is a lot of fun. The docents there are amazing, and honestly, if anything's wrong in the book, that's on me, not on them. And also it was as much fun as you could imagine to explore this gorgeous coast I get to call home. What you're looking at here is one of the places that they visit in the novel, but it's not a huge scene. But I chose this photo because the mist is very typical of what happens in here, the weather-wise, and in the book. Next slide, Lainey. So for anyone who's read the novel, this is the view from what I call Memory Beach. It's only called that by Mac, my husband Mac, and me, as far as I know, but it does really have a mailbox underneath it with journals and pens so anyone can write. Some of the scenes happen on top of that big high rock you see there, where the sunsets really are this glorious. This was not photoshopped. And the stars on a clear night are just as Sam and Gemma see them, as is the International Space Station. Which they see from the top of there. I have an app that tells me when the station is overhead, and every time I see it, I say what Gemma says in the novel. So as I said, this one's pretty close to my heart. I'm not Gemma, I'm not Isabella, I'm certainly not Leo or Sam. But what Hemingway says about writing being easy, you just open up a vein and bleed into your typewriter, that's what this book was for me. I hope you love it, and if you do, I would appreciate anything you can do to put it in readers' hands. Thank you so much.
That's beautiful, and thank you for sharing all that. I know the love and the attention to detail really comes through on this read, and I can't. It's you seeing those photos. I'm like, I'm there. I can see that. I'm so glad you brought these photos because I was thinking the same thing about the dress. So that's a nice Easter egg too. And I wondered if you have. I mean, you have to have such an extensive research list, but do you have any movie? It could, just be one. It doesn't have to be a list, but I'm sure you have a list. A movie that maybe someone could read or watch as a companion to kind of get them in this 50s headspace.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And let me just give one shout out that I forgot to say to Katie O'Connell, who's the Carmel by the Sea library historian who, unbeknownst to me, was responsible for putting up the archives for our local newspaper, which is called the Carmel Pinecone. She put them online, and since I did the research of this during the pandemic, they were so important to me. Yeah, for movies, I would go with certainly Rear Window, where those both those photos are from, and anything from Hitchcock. The movie is auditions for in the opening chapter of the novel is Vertigo. It isn't clear. That's a little spoiler alert. It isn't clear. That isn't clear until later on in the novel because it was originally when they started filming it. They started filming it under another novel, but. And then there are some great films written by blacklisted writers, including two by Dalton Trumbo that he wrote under a pseudonym. One is the 1953 Roman Holiday, starring Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck, which I just absolutely love. And another one is The Brave One, which I write about in the book. Everything about about that movie in the book. Is true, including that it was given an Oscar under the name Robert Rich, and that Oscar was never picked up. There are a couple of documentaries, Hollywood on Trial, and one called I think it's called Alfred Hitchcock, Master of Suspense. And then there's a great movie called She Said. It's pretty recent, so maybe everybody will have seen it, but it's a biopic starring Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan as Jodie Cantor and Megan Twohy, I think is how you say her name, about their New York Times investigation that revealed Harvey Weinstein's history of abuse. It's really just a fabulous film, and will definitely put you in the mood for the contemporary, the 2018 story.
Yeah, no, it was great to go back and forth, and there's a lot of fun things to uncover. I mean, it was thrilling. A new page. I was like, what? Things were unveiled. So it's a fun ride, and it's hard to talk too much because you don't want to reveal anything, but the photos really take you there. Thank you. And they love a reference list. So any movies, they're loving it. So
yeah, it's a great idea. I'll put up a movie list on my website. That'll be a lot of fun on the book club pages. So thanks.
Thank you. Well, we'll talk to you back in a few minutes, and I'm going to hand it off to Grace.
Thank you. I'm really excited to welcome Jeannine Cook on screen. Hello.
Hey, Grace.
How are you? Hold on, let me.
Doing good. It says that you have to show my face.
Okay. Well,
even though the book cover looks uncannily like me.
All right, I'm clicking ask to start video. Did you get a little pop-up?
Got it.
There we go. Cool. I can see you now. Hello. Thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for inviting me. This is the most exciting thing of my day for sure.
Oh, I'm so glad. I just wanted to say before I read your bio how much I enjoyed this book. I have notes all in the back, which I don't do that because you shouldn't write your library books, but this is all mine.
Yes.
So
it's really, really an honor to be here from both sides of the aisle, like the bookseller side, the book shopkeeper side, and then also now the debut novelist side. And so to hear that you're writing in it feels incredible, right in that book.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really, I was highlighting, it's so profound and fun to read, and I could gush about it, but I'm gonna introduce you first. So
okay.
Jeannine Cook.
Let's let everyone else in on the.
Yeah. Jeannine Cook is the founder and shopkeeper of 3 avant-garde bookshop concepts. Harriet's in Philadelphia, Ida's in South Jersey, and Josephine's a literary installation in Paris. She holds an MFA from Drexel University. It's Me They Follow is her first novel. So congratulations. It's a fantastic debut. I can't even stress enough how much I enjoyed this book.
Thank you. It means a lot to me. Because I was not setting out to write fiction. I thought that I was like gonna be this creative nonfiction writer, and I wanted to write this memoir. And it just didn't work that way. Things unfolded how they've unfolded, and now here we are with this novel. It's Me They Follow.
It's life never turns out how you think it will, but this, for the best, because this is a fantastic book. So just tell everybody what you want them to know about It's Me They Follow.
Yeah, and Grace, for me, it's much easier as a conversation, and since you know it and you've got notes, that will really help me. I don't go long. But I'll say that just like for the premise, the summary, you have a shopkeeper who looks, like I said, uncannily like myself, who has a bookshop in Philadelphia named Harriet's Bookshop, very just like me. However, this is a fictional universe where the shopkeeper is able to matchmake people and bring soulmates together using books.
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna get this question a lot, so I'll just start with it.
Yeah.
How much of this is autobiographical, if any? Maybe it's just, Harriet's Bookshop.
Coincidental. I mean, I think that for folks who like to gamify their reading and they like an Easter egg, there are plenty of Easter eggs to be had with It's Me They Follow, because you're both in this fictional universe that is informed by real events that happened in real life, right? And so here you have the origin story of this bookshop in Philadelphia. And the book actually takes place 30 days before the opening of the bookshop. And so there are many pieces that will feel familiar, especially to people in Philly, also to people who love books and are, whether that be somebody who really loves, poets like Sonia Sanchez, or like there's all these nuggets about the playwright August Wilson. In many ways, it's an ode to Philadelphia. So there are real Philadelphians that come in and out of the book. And so but all of that is a part of I think the fun of the novel.
Yeah, for sure. And I do, I've been thinking a lot about, it's bookish, but you actually have a lot of music in here too. And I would love to get back to that later. So that was kind of a mental note for myself. But there's so much wisdom in this book that I think we get from, bookish people in general. And there's things that kind of feel like mantras throughout these themes that keep coming up. And I've been thinking all week to myself, there's a quote that's throughout the book, which isn't going to spoil anything. And it's, oh, what the heck, do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Myself all week. And then we have, I think that quote connects really well from a quote from the shopkeeper's poem, because she has this book that someone comes in and buys her only copy of, and it says, "The path with no beginning is worth beginning." And I would love to ask you, what do these mean to you as a writer, a shopkeeper, and just a person?
Yeah, I think that part of the way that I think about my work in the world, especially when it gets tough, is to have mantras like that. They're almost like spells. And in a way, the shopkeeper is putting a spell on the people around her and on herself, right? Like, first off, she's putting it on herself so that she can have the engine to get this bookshop open. One major part of her character is that she has this huge fear of touch, and that is both metaphorical and allegorical, but also it's a physical fear for her in the book. And it's like, well, how are you supposed to be a shopkeeper if you have this fear of connecting with people on a deeper level? And so this is her journey in overcoming that fear, that physical fear, and also that kind of psychological fear.
Yeah, absolutely. I found that that aspect of the story, that phobia, to be really, really interesting, considering her job, and also she's in this writing circle where you're supposed to be connecting with people. So I found that to be really interesting. But we also have this other part that of touch that I think of in it is as Miss Harriet, and as this concept, but this guide, someone to follow. And when I was reading this, the first thing I thought of was, she can kind of be whoever you want her to be. I mean, that was just kind of my interpretation of it. And I kind of felt like her presence was, this embodiment of the way we tell ourselves stories.
Yes.
And
I think especially for people who like fiction, right? Or who value fiction, we know the importance of you know, larger than life characters to help us push through what feels like, you know, sometimes impossible circumstance, and looking to those larger in life characters when we need inspiration. And so Miss Harriet becomes that for her, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think this book does a fantastic job at blending fiction and kind of like what's happening in the story, what's, you know, this fictional part that we're seeing from the shopkeeper's perspective. And you know, it really keeps you on your toes. And it was fun for me to kind of like puzzle it together. And I think one of the best parts about this book is you really give a lot to the reader of what do you think about this, you know, like as you're reading. And I just love that. And it was so much fun to read. And I think calling her just the shopkeeper alone really lets you project onto her. So I was wondering about like your decision to call her just the shopkeeper.
Yeah, we went back and forth about it a lot, me and my editor, because she was always the shopkeeper in my mind. It just made it easier for me to separate myself from her, because I have to, you know, I had to keep remembering, like, this is not me, and you're gonna go on into the world and people are gonna ask you questions, and you want to make sure that you're clear that this is not you. And so that just helped me to like give her almost this kind of universal title. I also felt like when you think about, like, there's a line in there that so many people feel this calling to open bookshops. It's not like the shopkeeper is not the only one. But then there's this, like, you know, wild few who really go for it. And for those people, this book is definitely for them, in that, you know, it is a journey of like almost that feels impossible. It does feel miraculous to be able to pull it off. And so I knew other book people that would resonate, because I meet people all the time who are, you know, have either thought about it or worked in bookshops, or, you know, are gonna do it someday. And even myself, who I thought that, you know, I'd have a bookshop, but I thought I'd do it like, you know, way in the, you know, when I was a little old woman with a cat and a broom. I had like this whole vision of what that would look like. And so to see it unfold in real time, and how all of the obstacles that come up, like very simple obstacles, like having an awning, you know, like how does one do that? Where do you get the books? You know, people are always like, how does this, like, it's, you know, for outsiders, getting that inside look is very fun too.
Totally, yeah. And you gave us some great images. So we've got two on each slide. So do you want to talk about those? We can go through those and then we'll pass it off.
Yeah, I just thought that some of these were fun because they can, again, they play with this blur between fact and fiction, right? And so you can see this photo of me, that's the actual photo of me that the book cover is kind of like based on. And then you have Sonia Sanchez, who you meet a lot in the book. But this was just a photo that, you know, the Department of Tourism had come in and taken of me one day at the bookshop, right? And so then the photo keeps getting reused and reused and reused in all these different ways, which you'll see in the book is like also kind of a thing that happens, where you meet something and then you meet it again and then you meet it again. And then this other photo that's over in Paris. And so in Paris, we have Josephine's bookshop, which is we call it, it's like an installation, and we go back to Paris once or twice a year and create this bookshop experience for people, always dedicated to Josephine Baker. So we'll go back in July, actually, of this year, and do another iteration of Josephine's bookshop. And so each of the bookshops are named for these women in history. And then we go into we build a bookshop that kind of highlights a piece of her life.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is just all over Trinidad. We have a little children's book called Harriet's Bookshop. So that was, we went to Trinidad and gave out those before school started, just showing like the family and the love. And you know, Harriet's Bookshop ended up really becoming far more than I could have ever imagined. We opened literally 6 weeks before the pandemic. And once I picked myself up off the floor, you know, we would build the bookshop outside, and locked the door, and then it was all honor system. And what happened around that honor system is that community really stepped in a major way. Because our business was so young, we weren't able to get any of that, like, PPP money that was going around. We just had to really be beholden to our community, and our community stepped up in so many ways. And so that's kind of what you'll see in some of these slides, is different versions of that. Oh yeah, one of the things that we did, because we needed to be 6 feet apart, we gave away books on horseback. I went out on horseback. I learned how to ride a horse, and distributed books on horseback. We attended protests with books, and as opposed to signs. And you see just the kind of all the different versions of what the bookshop is and why it's called avant-garde. Like, this was we built a live bookshop with young people who had read the book, and they were like talking about the book out loud as an installation.
I love it.
Yeah, it's been a cool journey, and it's allowed me to access my creative self in many ways. And so I just wanted to kind of show people the bookshop behind the origin story.
Yeah, I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. It's just such a unique and fun book. So I'm glad that people are gonna be able to read it in September when it comes out. And I'm gonna pass this along to Virginia.
Okay. That was amazing. Such great photographs and such an interesting story. Jeannine, this has been great. And now a word from Lou Berney. Lou. Hi,
I'm Virginia.
how are you?
I'm like a six out of 10, I'd say right now.
Really?
I'm on some heavy duty allergy medicine, so I feel
Oh.
like I've got nowhere to go but up at this point.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe by the time we're done, maybe you'll be, I don't know, maybe an 8, maybe even a
I
9.
was gonna say 7. Okay, let's shoot for the moon.
God.
I love it.
Well, then double thanks for taking the time to do this one. I know these allergies this is the time. Okay, Lou, your book, Crux, which comes out in September, is a trip. So much fun. Crazy family. I'll do a quick intro, a line or two about this amazing book, and then hand it over to you. Lou Berney, multiple award-winning author of many books, including November Road, which made the library reads list, The Long and Far Away Gone, Double Barrel Bluff, Dark Ride, and Gut Shot Straight and Whiplash River. His short fiction has appeared in The New Yorker, Plowshares, and the Pushcart Prize Anthology. He lives in Oklahoma and teaches at Oklahoma City University. Lou, this book is a terrific novel, follows this crazy, interesting, entertaining American crime family and this journey across 4 decades. These characters, all the members of this family are so interesting and so entertaining. And it's just a deep dive into this big-hearted crime saga. So there's so many quotes, so much love. Jean Kwok, New York Times bestseller and author of The Leftover Woman. She says, with his signature warmth and precision, Berney explores what it means to belong to a country, a family, and a legacy you didn't choose. Lou, tell us about Crux.
Well, I'm so glad you called it a big-hearted crime novel, because I think that's kind of what I set out to do in my books. Is I want them to be kind of white-knuckle thrill rides, but I also want them to be full of joy in a way. And that's what I was kind of going with this story, which, as you said, follows over 40, 50 years, 4 siblings who are kind of grappling with their criminal upbringing and how they're going to either escape that or embrace it, or who knows. And I think it came to me early on. I'm 60 years old and I should be past a lot of things of my family's influence, but I'm not. I find myself doing and saying things and being things that are direct reflections of things that happened to me, when I was 3 or 4 or 5 years old. And family has such a huge influence on us, I kind of wanted to sort of explore that and how we can never really escape it. And maybe we shouldn't escape certain parts of it. And that's kind of where this book came from. And so I came up with 4 characters, 4 siblings, one who's the brains of the operation, one who's the daredevil of the family, one who's the muscle, and then one who's kind of the golden boy, and sort of seeing how those family dynamics mix in and how they shape people over the course of their whole life. Again, speaking of libraries, my mom worked when I was growing up, so I spent a lot of time in libraries during the summer. My sisters, who are 10 and 11 years older than me, did not want to babysit me, so they would stick me at the library all summer and just say, stay here for 8 hours, read something. And I realized, like, that's why I'm a writer. Like, right there is like my sisters made me a writer, and by putting me in libraries, which also helps make me a writer. And I just thought about how does that play out with something that's maybe less benign or more complicated than becoming a writer.
Now that's interesting. Well, it's funny. I think a lot of authors that we talk to kind of have somewhat similar stories. I mean, there's always, usually when they're kids and they're just in the stacks and they're kind of lost in those stacks but in a good way. And so, well, listen, your sisters did right by all of us by dumping you at the library, Lou.
They don't let me forget. My oldest sister always reminds me that she's takes all the credit for any success I have. So
Of course.
And right.
Back to your point, families shape us and you can't ever get away.
Yeah.
But do we really want to? Maybe not.
Exactly. Right.
So this Mercurial, this is the name of the family, they're an interesting bunch. And as you say, it's quite a cast of characters, and they're kind of all different from each other in a way. And I'm just kind of curious, where did you come up with the ideas for these characters? Did they, it's all sort of come to you at once, or, how did they develop?
Oh, that's a great question, and I hate it. Like, this is not something ever writers should talk about, I think, Virginia, but I will because you brought it up. Like,
Thank you.
it's a mess. It's just like it's trial and error and disaster followed by, crawling out of the rubble and with the one piece that can work in a different kind of construction. And I mean, I can't remember what I started out with. I knew I wanted them to be 4 very different siblings because in my family, 3 were all very different. But I also wanted them to share certain things. So is a little tricky thing to play with. And so I just like kind of always followed the North Star as I was writing is what's the most fun? What'll be the most fun for me to write? And what'll be the most fun for a reader to read? And that's what kind of led me to the sort of 4 archetypes, each with their own sort of superpower when it comes to living life and getting through life.
Love that. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Everybody have your questions ready because there's so much to talk about and the clock ticks. So we are going to move on. Lou, thank you very much for writing Crooks and bringing these characters to us. If you've read the book already, you know why we're such fans of this book. And if you haven't, you're in for a great treat. So thank you, Lou. And now, Jonathan Lethem. Is your camera on? Can it be?
It is now.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm
So
happy
nice to
that
be
you're
back.
here. Yes, it's great to have you back.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly read your bio, a little introduction, and then we're going to have you talk about your new book, collection of stories, Different Kind of Tension, which comes out in September. Jonathan Lethem, best-selling author of 13 novels, including Brooklyn crime novel, The Feral Detective, and Motherless Brooklyn, which was the winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award. His 5 story collections include Men and Cartoons and Lucky Allen, and his short fiction has appeared in the New Yorker, Harper's Magazine, and the Paris Review, among other publications, garnering a Pushcart Prize, a World Fantasy Award, and inclusion in the Best American Short Stories. He lives in Los Angeles and Maine. Are you still in Maine?
I still go there every summer. Yeah, I love that place. I wish I could be there year round.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So, Jonathan, talk to us about this collection. Tell us what you want folks to know.
Well, it's obviously a very important and personal book for me, and I'm very proud of it, because this, by being a new and selected stories, it's not only got, really a small collection's worth of brand new fiction in it, and I'm very excited to share those with people who won't have seen them at all, even the most assiduous of my fans. But it takes it's a box set, or I don't know, greatest hits collection. It takes a selection of stories from each of the previous collections, and even collects a couple of stories that precede my first short story collection. So there are examples of my writing in here that go back as far as 1989. And it's really, in a way, when I was putting it together and making the selections, and I decided on a strict chronological order. So it's a kind of self-portrait. It shows me becoming one kind of writer, and then another, and learning new skills and capacities. But also, and this is something that was revealed to me as I edited it and reread all the pieces, and decided which ones really belonged and which ones didn't. I see myself not only growing and changing, but cycling, returning to motifs, returning to ideas. And so it's in a sweet way, it's a very humbling book for me, because I see that no matter how much I think I'm transforming, or my ideas or points of view are changing, or my interests expand because I read something new, I learn about new writers and they influence me. There's some essential part of me that keeps happening, keeps producing itself and expressing itself. And these stories show, because of the connections through time, the things I was thinking about in my late 20s and the things I was thinking about in my mid 50s as I wrote the new pieces that complete the book, in some ways aren't that different. You can only get so far away from yourself.
Can you talk a little bit about the new work,
Yes, well, so there are 7 stories in here that were written since my last collection of short fiction. And among those, the very last story in the book has appeared nowhere else before. And it's a particularly long story, not quite a novella. I kind of teased at the idea that I should call it a novella, but it would be a very short novella. But it's a long, short story. And it's one I'm especially excited to show people. And it has, for me, some of the resonance and breadth. Even though it's not a novel, it feels like it has a novel's worth of implications and meanings in it. It's a kind of unavoidably, it's an autobiographical story. It's called the Red Sun School of Thoughts, but it's based on this is the first time I'm telling this story. I bet I'll tell it a lot before I'm done, but I've never tried airing this out before. It's the title of the story, The Red Sun School of Thoughts, comes from an AI generated biography of me on a website that's full of all sorts of what they call hallucinations. It's got all this stuff in it that's complete balderdash that never happened. And one of the things that this biography suggests is that I grew up partly in San Francisco, spent part of my childhood years in a group home, a commune called the Red Sun School of Thoughts. Where it got that phrase, where it got that idea, I have no idea. But I decided to seize hold of it and make it my own. And so this is an autobiographical story about a part of my childhood that never really happened.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's perfect. Yeah, people get ready. There is a wonderful quote from Ann Beatty, who says, how fortunate to have new and collected stories, because while amazing individually, cumulatively, the effect is stunning. There's a lot of implicit yearning in these stories, sometimes displaced onto the strangest creatures, embodied in metaphor, or providing a whiff of literary illusion. Nobody does it better.
It's so wonderful. I grew up reading Anne's short fiction. We all did. And she's such an absolute master of the form, and the fact that she has, to any extent, returned the compliment, the years of adoration that I've had for her wizardry in the short form is really special to me. Virginia, one of the things that I'm very proud about with this book is simply my commitment to short stories. I have the luck and the privilege of being known as a novelist, and I know a lot of novelists, very good ones, people I respect and friends of mine, who wrote some short stories at one point, and then once they started publishing novels, they sort of stopped doing it, and that's okay. That's understandable. It's a normal trajectory, but for whatever reason, even when I began to publish novels and find the great luck and embrace of an audience, I really didn't want to let go of the short form. I felt there was something about it that was particular, and I was obsessed with trying to get it right and learn how it worked. It's very demanding on a craft level. And, one of the things that makes this book one that's just very special to me is it's a display of my commitment over these decades to making that kind of writing come alive.
Well, we're the lucky ones that you, as you say, you keep returning to ideas and motifs, and the short story form is there's something for everybody here, and it's just wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we've got everybody, so I think that everybody should come and turn their cameras on, because we've got about 15 minutes left.
It was so great listening to everybody else as I sat and waited for my turn. Thank you all.
I wrote down you can only get so far away from yourself, Jonathan Lethem. It's very nice. I feel that way when I'm writing as well.
And as far as, and you can only get so far away from family. I mean, it's really sort of interesting, this, the tie lines that are going through here, and some of this, so what you're talking about, your stories and talking to us tonight. It's really interesting. Lainey, Grace.
Hello.
Hi.
We have a question for Jonathan. Earl asks, do you drive back to Maine like Stephen King does to and from Florida?
So glad for that question. I do drive it as often as I can. And one of the reasons is that I'm always schlepping boxes of books back and forth. Because I have, this is my chance to say me too. I have a bookstore engagement. I'm into used books. That's my thing, and I've always loved them. And so I'm always acquiring books that I want to take to Maine for this eventual bookstore that I'm going to open when I retire. But also I sometimes drive it with my my now 92-year-old dad, and he doesn't like airplanes anymore. So we do this kind of meandering cross-country drive, which has become a ritual that I really like. We visit cousins in the Midwest, and enjoy not rushing. Rushing across the country is too much. But if you have nice places to stop and stay, and you don't mind taking a week over it, it's pretty fun.
Do you have a favorite place to stop that's like maybe people wouldn't think of to stop?
Well, I mean, it's really family based. I love my cousin Nancy lives, speaking of communes, she does have a commune, a communal farm in rural Indiana outside of Bloomington. And that's a ritual stop for us. It's just always feels so dreamy and special to pull in there and see. She lives in an extraordinary place, and other family, her daughters, my second cousins, I guess that is, I'm never good at that. they gather there when me and my dad show up, and he's very excited just to be sort of surrounded by family. So that's the Bloomington, Indiana, and the farm outside is the answer.
Love
Love
that.
that.
Well, let me know if she's ever accepting applications for the commune. Uh, I love that. And you know, it just reminded me, Jeannine, you have a little arc of a road trip in It's Me They Follow. And while I was reading that, that's kind of when I started to notice there's a lot of music in your book. You know, you have Will Smith, of course, because you can't not have Will Smith in a book that takes place. You have Patti LaBelle, and you have this man playing a sped up version of Ain't No Stopping Us Now. Can you talk about any music you were listening in particular when you were writing the book? And also that can go for anyone if music is part of your writing process at all.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that helped me a lot was to think about, like, we're in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a musical city. All those musicians you named are all Philly musicians. Patti LaBelle, Will Smith. The shopkeeper listens to the same Jill Scott song every time she comes home from work, you know? And so there's this kind of like thread of Philly that's hidden in the music, a thread of Philly that's hidden in the books. It's also hidden in the architecture. She talks about the Philadelphia doors, and this way in which those were informed by the Quakers, and you know, so there's this kind of that undercurrent without it kind of knocking you in the head. Yeah.
Love that. Does anybody else like listen to music or have music influence their books at all? If anyone wants to talk about that.
I absolutely listen to music to put me in the mood of the periods that I'm writing about. But as I'm writing, I can't listen to anything. I need it to be quiet because otherwise the rhythm of the music I always feel like intrudes on the rhythm of my words, and I just can't do it. I admire people who can.
There are really great comments. Everybody is just like, we're all agreeing in the chat, just like a dreamy way to end the day, because everyone I feel is like very lulled, like we can't wait. Someone did say they only ask that we kind of pause time just so they can actually go read all of these amazing books. Like, we got to go now. We want to read.
Yeah, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't just give a shout out to my mom, who was a librarian. And so because I'm with the librarians, I like to like just acknowledge that. And you know, my mom was she went blind when I was about 10. And even I think like having her as a librarian, and the fact that even in her blindness, she was still just this avid reader, and that it never switched off somehow, that it actually, you know, to this day is one of her you know, her superpowers, just how much and how fast and how often she reads and still shares books, even though, you know, being her, you know, losing her sight shifted the way she did it. I think like once a librarian, you just always a librarian. And so I just, you know, shouts to the librarians, the bookshops, and the shopkeepers and librarians. We work hand in hand. And so I appreciate just kind of being in a room with folks like my mama.
Aw, that's so sweet. Is it another piece of connective tissue there? You know, with probably everybody here, especially Lou and his sisters. Lou, one question. I think Lainey then has a question, and then we're going to do a round robin and ask everybody what they're reading.
Okay.
Lou, so of all the characters in this crazy family, the Mercurio family, is there one that is sort of nearer to your heart than the others? And what's your take on Piggy Paul?
Well, yeah, there is a fifth sibling in my book who I didn't mention, who is just a writer and a watcher and an observer who is very bored with his life. And I feel like that's probably me, and that's probably my favorite character. Like I'm not sure I was actually that as a child. I was more of a ringleader, but I identified most with a guy who just observes and watches and has these very colorful siblings.
I love that. Yep, that's cool. But writing it all down, though. Love that. That's the gift. Okay, let's see. What do we have here? So I have Pam Garda, who says, "Love November Road. I'm looking forward to reading Meg and Jonathan and Jeannine's books. This is a dreamy way to end a Thursday. You all are getting such love on here." Okay, Lainey, did you have one thing you wanted to shout out, and then we go to questions
Oh,
about
I
reading?
didn't mention before, Meg, but I want to talk about your website and how cool it is. And I want them to use it for their book clubs. But I mean, one, you have that beautiful artwork when you open it. It looks, like hand drawn. It's very cool.
Well,
So
thank
they
you.
can go check that out. But you have this great section of book club guides for past books. And so it's a great resource for librarians and their book club groups.
Yeah, thank you. That was the idea of a head of marketing at one point in time when I was publishing, that the book groups are big, and if you provide material, and I find it some of the most fun work I do, actually thinking about what to put together for my book pages. And my book club pages, and I hadn't really thought about this one yet. It's just been a crazy spring. But I'm definitely one of the things I'm definitely gonna have there is a movie list, and maybe a popcorn
Ooh.
recipe or two to go with it. So
Yeah,
thank
they
you.
could do a showing and talk about the book, and all they
Exactly.
need is the popcorn.
Yeah, shout out to Ilse Brink. She's been doing that website for me since she was literally, 22 years old and fresh out of college, and now she does, just about everybody's website. She's uber talented, but she still charges me the same very small amount per hour that she charged me when she did mine, which was, I think, the first author website she did. Yeah, so it's fun. Thank you. It needs thank you guys for having, they tweaked my cover, so now my print is orange and the cover's a little lighter, and even my website still has the red. So thank you guys for having the orange.
Ah. So with some about 5 minutes left here. Not that we have to stop right at 8 o'clock, but we want to be respectful of your time and as well as the folks who are watching. But everybody loves this part. Everybody loves all of this because they're all here watching and taking notes and singing your praises, and you can go back and look at all of that later. But we want to ask you all if you would tell us what you're reading. What are you loving? And Grace will jot it all down with her fingers will fly across the keyboards. I don't know how she does it, but she does. And so that'll be available for everybody. So if you have something that you're reading that you're loving, let us know what it is.
Title and author and slowly for me. Thank you.
ISBN, pagination, and price.
Well, I'll jump in and say I'm reading a bunch of things at the same time as I always am. One of the things I'm really loving is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. It's just a stunning book. I'm a kind of a space nut to start with, but it is, which is why you see the space station in my novel. But you see it up close and personal in this novel, and it's really fantastic. I just finished Kristen Harmel's The Stolen Life of Colette March, I think it is, which was quite moving. And then I always have two that I'm reading, one ebook and one not. The ebook I'm reading is The View from Lake Como by Adriana Trigiani. And my print book is Lisa Scodolini's The Unraveling of Julia, a little different for me, but I love Lisa. She's a lovely person. And I just finished one that's just come out, which is The Red House by Mary Morris, and it was just really fantastic. So that's my list. And I've just added 3 more to my TBR, I'm just going to say, from today. So I'm really looking forward to reading everybody here.
Thank you, Nick.
Shall I jump in next?
Yeah.
I had a great experience a couple of weeks ago, taking my time with a really big, wonderful, warm novel that you can kind of climb into. It's called Play World by Adam Ross. It's his second book. His first one was, I think, over a decade ago, called Mr. Peanut. That I liked very much too. It was kind of a little bit dark and strange, a bit more of an experiment. This book is very much a coming of age story set in New York. He's a showbiz kid. He's a child actor trying to balance that against a crazy family life and the demands of a private boarding school where he's trying to compete on the wrestling team. he's falling in love. I don't want to say too much. It's really a remarkably warm human novel, and the sentences are amazing, just beautifully written, one after the next.
It's got a great jacket. I just pulled it up.
Everyone in the chat's like, this, it was stunning. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else, Jonathan, that you wanted to mention?
Well, I'm going to block both of these titles offhand, but it's easy to dig them up. Since I'm in a short story phase, putting out this new and selected, I'm really excited about two short story collections that are dropping just a little bit ahead of mine. Lydia Millett has one coming this year. She's a fabulous short story writer. And Ed Park, who wrote the fantastic novel Same Bed, Different Dreams, just a year or two ago, has his first short story collection coming, and he's also marvelous. So I'll suggest those to you as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, this is always fun and hard as a book as a shopkeeper. So I am reading I Always Knew. It's a memoir by Barbara Chase Rebel, who is from Philadelphia, an amazing artist who moved to Paris. And as we prepare for our Paris trip in July, she's kind of like the beacon of light. And she recently did this an exhibit of her sculpture work called The Three Josephines. And so it just feels like it's all so dreamily and eerily connected with her being from Philly and living in Paris and working on Josephine. I'm like, okay, I'll take that as a sign. And then locally, I'm reading a book by Sana Crispina Flores called Machetes Are Forged in Soft Rivers. And she's a Philadelphia-based author. And so I've been, wanting to have the bookshop be a place where Philly authors kind of have a home, especially our indie authors. And so I've been working with her to think about how to promote that book locally and also bring it to a national stage. And so those are the two I'll suggest. And also shouts to Lisa. I heard you mention her, Meg, who's Philly, and also she's been super supportive of Harriet's. But thank y'all for giving me titles and more work.
Lisa Scottolini used to be a HarperCollins author, and she's just fantastic. She's like just so much heart and energy, and that's great. And I forgot, of course, Philadelphia. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I give a shout out to one other book, which I totally forgot? You read them, when you read them before they publish them, you can't remember what's published or not. But Alka Joshi has a new book out that's a Harper book called 6 Days in Bombay. That's fabulous as well.
Thanks, Meg.
Yeah, I've got a quick shout out for a book that's coming out in June, and I think it's a Harper book. This Is Not a Ghost Story by Amarie, a Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter, which I blurbed, and I really love that book. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I've got it across the room. It's so good.
That's also got that's coming out in June. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
That's also, yeah.
I was gonna say I think I got them all. I will say Machetes Are Forged in Soft Rivers is not an Edelweiss, so I'm throwing a link into the chat with it so everyone can check that out.
Thanks, Grace. So there you go. See, I don't know how Grace does that, but she does it. That's great. That's just to have this sort of off the top of your head and to tell us from your heart what you're loving is just, it's everybody's saying like, okay, the TBR list just got bigger, but it's wonderful. This is a great night. This is a great conversation. There's a lot of stuff going on here about, family and place and history and how we circle back. And I, with each book, I just feel like, our where we are in many different ways is so reflected in your comments and in your storytelling and in your words tonight. So thank you all so much for taking the time tonight to talk to us about your books. As Lainey said, many times when authors come on, because we do this early before pub, authors very often will say, this is the first time I'm actually talking about my book. And so it's sort of like whatever comes out, which is great, and that's why we like to have this sort of informal conversation, because it's just people talking about these wonderful gifts that you're giving us, readers, librarians, patrons, your words. And so written or spoken, we so thank you for all that you've done, all that you do. And we wish you all the very best, and please keep writing and sharing your gift with us. So, to recap, we have Typewriter Beach by Meg Waite Clayton on sale July 1st. It's Me, They Follow by Jeannine Cook coming out on September 23rd. Books by Berney on sale September 9th, and Different Kind of Tension by Jonathan Lethem. And I think that's on sale September 23rd. Lady Grace, have I forgotten anything before we say goodnight to everyone?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Grace, did you put the list of books that everyone's recommending in the chat?
Yep, they're in there.
You're the
Yep,
best.
and they're like, you're so speedy, Grace. She really
She's so speedy.
I try. It's like really stressful, but kind of in a fun way.
like a game show.
Yeah. Well, folks, unless there's anything else that you want to say, you're more than welcome to. If there's anything you want to say, we're here. And if we're done, we're done.
Thanks so
I just want to
much.
say
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, you all.
Thank you, everyone. See you all.
Good night.
Yeah, you
All right,
guys are
thanks.
great. Thank you so much. The whole library team, you guys are wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's our honor and privilege. So thank you and good night, everyone. And we'll see you next month. Take good care, all.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Feel better, Lou.
I feel good now.
Yeah.
What number is it, Lou?
9.5.
Woo!